Welcome to another week of Brew Skies Booze News. I'm Mike Morgan. This is the second week in the last year of civilization, but my 2024 horoscope says that I'm doing just fine, Brett.
Oh, that's great.
How about you?
Oh, I'm doing dandy.
Happy 2024.
Happy 2024. It is probably the 15th or the week of the 15th if you are watching. Cheers. Thank you for joining us. If you are not familiar, Mike and I are self-proclaimed professionals and industry experts in the alcohol world, and we go over the news of the week and opine about it and really talk about our opinions and all that fun stuff.
We are also attributed by everyone who knows us as experts on alcohol consumption.
Oh, we are that. Oh, yeah. There's those that are better than us out there. We're not necessarily the Michael Jordan of drinking.
Right. No.
But, you know.
We hold our own.
We hold our own.
Yeah.
We hold our own. As always, crack a beer, like, comment, subscribe, join in the conversation. That's how you can support us cheap and free. If you really want to get crazy, buy us a beer on Patreon, which, speaking of Patreon, Mike, it's been about 4 months since we've started our Patreon.
Yeah.
Today,
we finally did something for our Patreon subscribers.
Today is the first day you
Finally
get
showed
Patreon
them
content, and you'll be surprised at how good that fucking content is. It is well
good.
goddamn made. It's 10 minutes long. It's great shit. I'm not going to give away much more. Go check it out on Patreon. Subscribe, and you can see that cool video.
I did. It's been so long since we recorded it, though. Like, I was watching it, and I was like, who are those sexy bastards?
I was thinking, damn, that was 10 pounds ago. Question of the day is, what is your favorite booze slang term? It could be anything that you like or want to talk about booze-wise, whether it's getting drunk or being hungover or just, you know, hitting it. Let us know. We'll let you know our favorites here at the end of the episode. So, let's get into it. We got a busy week. It's 2024 and shit's getting wild already.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, have you ever heard of Brewdog?
Brewdog, I have indeed. We have shit-talked them on numerous occasions.
You know that punk brewery that's a mega corporation that's in over 120 countries or whatever they're in?
Yes.
How they're so small and scrappy and upstart?
They're really punk for being billionaires.
Well, Mike, they have decided that this year they are officially giving up their 2015 mandate of living wages.
Good. Well, that's punk. That's punk as fuck. Fuck the people that work for us. Drink more beer. Daddy needs a new yacht.
You know what's so punk when you're corporate? Just fucking your employees.
Absolutely.
So Brewdog has officially said that they are no longer doing the real living wage pay for employees, and they're just going with minimum wage in whatever country they're operating in.
Yeah.
Which basically means that every employee that they're hiring is getting fucked.
You know, but it is really just 21st century punk, if you think about it, right? I mean, like, 70s punk was punching up, right? It was fuck the man. But like 21st century punk, it's definitely punching down. It's like the billionaire going, ugh. What do you want? Healthcare? Living wages? A place to live? Get back under the bridge, bitch! I'm punk! I'm Brewdog and I'm punk.
It's dystopian cyberpunk. It's not the fun, cool, fuck the man punk.
Yeah.
It's I'm getting fucked by the man punk.
Sure.
Yeah, they suck. The anti-capitalist capitalists have grew their revenue to $325 million in 2023.
That's punk as fuck.
But apparently they lost $24 million. And so
where'd they put it? Couch cushion. Probably when they were doing heroin, you know? I mean...
Well, in an effort to regain profitability, they decided that it's important to cut wages of employees 50 cents an hour from 12 pounds an hour down to $11.50.
Yeah.
So that's going to make up the difference, I'm sure. Those fucking people's livelihoods is going to help them keep their fucking 50 on.
Absolutely. Sounds just like the 1890s and, you know, worked out great for corporations back then.
This is coming off the backs of one of their founders being accused multiple times of sexual related allegations. Allegations that their company treats people like tools rather than people. Allegations that their company...
Objects like people?
Yes. Yes, thank you. Allegations that they interview people, steal their ideas in the interviews, and then refuse to hire them. Allegations that they generally just are actually just giant shitbags. And as a result, the B Corp status they have has been lost. If you're not familiar with B Corp status basically is this third-party organization that says this company is actually a relatively decent company as far as global corporate standards go, as far as their treatment of humans. And so that got stripped from them. So they really have just gone the opposite direction of what they have claimed to be. So the long and short of it is, fuck Brewdog.
Fuck Brewdog.
Their whole ethos was like, fuck everyone else, fuck the man, fuck big corporations. Well, you know what? Fuck them. High Noon.
Brewdog, you know what punk as fuck is?
What?
It's me going to your bar and kicking the sink off the wall. That's punk as fuck. Say it like that. Make up for that.
We do not condone violence against the people that are not being paid living wages that work at Brewdog, but we won't get in your way if you decide to actually take anarchy into your own hands.
Right.
We don't condone it.
We don't condone it. We're not advocating it.
We would never advocate it.
But anarchy, bitches.
We'll certainly stay out of the way. High Noon has retained its lead as the biggest selling liquor by volume in the country. It is now twice as big as the second largest selling volume producer of spirits, and that's Tito's. They have sold 24 million cases, I think, last year.
What do they? Do they just make High Noon?
Yes.
Well, High Noon's like a seltzer, right?
It's just an RTD seltzer. Yeah. So the numbers are really fucked, and like volume is very important here because by dollars they're nowhere close. Because a bottle of Tito's is way more expensive than a fucking can of goddamn High Noon. But when you're selling 12 ounces versus 750 mils in case volumes, you're going to surpass the competition. Does that mean anything for the spirits industry? Do you think it's going to upchange everything?
I mean,
I don't.
People are dumb. Means consumer's an idiot.
I love everyone who drinks Urban Artifact. That's what I'll say. What I'll also say is that industry analysts are saying that this change in RTDs, the fact that the number one brand by volume is now a seltzer company in spirits world, we need to start looking at how alcohol is categorized. That instead of looking at it like
douchey or not.
No longer are we looking at it based on spirits, wine, or beer. We're looking at douche level. And what level of douche are you? Are you
spirits, wine, beer, douchey? Then I'm correct.
Are you a heavy flow douche or are you just a light fucking cleaning? No, really, it's based on alcohol content is what they're pushing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, what it comes from. If it's fucking 2% wine, then that's basically beer at that point. It's just grapes or whatever. So what the IWSR, which is the industry that looks at spirit sales and alcohol sales as a whole, they want to look at things more of like, if it's 5% alcohol, we need to compare seltzers, even if it's made with vodka, versus beer, because they're basically playing in the same space. A 5% alcohol seltzer made from vodka isn't competing with Tito's, it's competing with Bud Light.
Here's the problem that I have with that. I understand it from a standpoint of measuring what's selling in the industry, and I understand it from a legality standpoint of licensing, but you wind up doing a lot of counterproductive things in terms of just consumer education when you name things arbitrarily like that. Like Texas, I believe, and I don't know if they still do this.
Yeah, they do. The ale
whole,
beer thing.
Like ale, but you have to call, like if it's above an ABV, you have to call it an
it's
ale.
It's above 4%, it's an ale.
Even.
Yeah, and if it's above 6, it's a Bock, no matter what it is.
Yeah, which is why that, whatever the hell that big Bock beer out of Texas is, and it's not a Bock beer at all.
Shiner Bock's trash.
Yeah, it's a Shiner Bock. It's not a Bock, but they call it Bock because it's out of Texas and because of the ABV, and so it gets called a Bock, and that just completely bastardizes it. It confuses an already not very smart consumer about an entire style, well, broad styles, because an ale in Texas can be a lager. It can be made with a lager yeast.
Yes.
But if it's above a certain ABV, then you call it ale or Bock. And
it's actually one thing I really like about the EU is they recognize that there's power in words and marketing, and that people just don't know, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about. I don't have time. I don't have all the time in the world to figure out the differences and nuances in like coffee or something. Yeah. But I gotta trust what's being put on a label is truthful. And in our country, there's just not importance on that. There isn't importance on, like, if something says it's made with real fruit, but it only has one blueberry in 10,000 gallons, that technically counts as made with. But when you read it as a consumer, you think like, oh, this has got a fuckload of blueberries in it. Nope. It's just got one blueberry in it and a shitload of fake stuff, because that's cheaper, and fuck you, the consumer. So I really appreciate in the EU, you can't do that shit. And there's power also in like protected designations of origin, which we don't have in the U.S.
Yeah, which we've discussed in the past. It's stupid. It was a real mistake that Kentucky, next to Mitch McConnell, the biggest mistake that Kentucky's ever made is
the bourbon
is not owning the name bourbon.
They should have locked that shit down as a Kentucky-only product and owned it. That would have been huge for the. It's already huge for the state, but it would have been bigger.
That's why you have consumer right laws. Like, made with fruit should mean something. Bach should mean something.
Yes.
I'm not an astrophysicist, so I don't understand, for example, how to put a door on an airplane. But I should be able to trust that if I get it on a Boeing airplane, that it flies, right?
Just
and
like if I
doesn't blow off of it.
If I buy a berry ale from Lion & Kunigels, I should trust that it's actually made with berries,
like berries,
not with fucking fake shit that tastes like berries.
A bunch of chemicals.
Tell me it's fake berry ale. If it's fucking fake berry ale, I'm gonna probably be okay with it if the price point's right.
Right. You're still gonna buy it.
Company called Indie Me has developed.
I hate them already.
Oh, you're gonna love this story. Indie Me has developed a new anti-theft cabinet they're calling Freedom Cases. Ooh. And if you go to a liquor store, and you know how they have the fancy shit behind lock and key, no longer do you have to find someone to unlock that for you. You get on your telephone, you scan a QR code, you get a one-time password, you punch it into the Freedom Case, which is what they call them. It unlocks, you grab your Freedom alcohol, you put it in your cart, and you go and pay for it. But if you don't pay for it, now they know you opened it, now they knew what you grabbed, and now they're gonna snag you. So,
you have no idea how much hate this fills me.
I knew it fucking would. I knew it. This is coming off their latest invention that they have called the Rocatech, which is a shopping cart that will lock up if you try to leave the store without going past a checkout counter.
Oh, Kroger has been trying that out, and it doesn't. Like the first time they were trying it a while back, sometime last year, and I came out of Kroger with a cart, and the system wasn't working. I mean, I had paid for all of my stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that they were doing this. We were testing this pilot, but I get like 2 foot into the parking lot with this big cartload of shit that I bought. Yeah, and I couldn't, I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, well, I mean, I think that what you people should keep doing as consumers is just keep giving up your freedom and privacy for more convenience. It's definitely going to work out fine.
You know what I really like is when you go into gas stations now and they have those coolers that are just television screens that put ads over it rather than letting you see what's in the cooler.
Right.
That's really fucking nice.
That's great. That's great.
Well,
yeah, just keep. You know what I will say. This is completely off topic, but it reminded me of it. There was a story here locally in Cincinnati that I thought was funny as hell this week. This car dealership got like high-end car dealership. They're like reselling, Beamers and Corvettes and that type of thing. They got broken into, and a couple of cars got stolen, and that sucks. Sorry for those guys, but the 2 cars it was like these 2 idiots that broke in and did this sloppy job of stealing these 2 cars, but they weren't the 2 intended cars. The first one of the 2 was this newer model Camaro, and they smashed the window out of it, and they had the keys to it, but they didn't steal it. Why? It was a stick. So they do. I love the fact, one of those expressions that is out there is that a 5-speed is a Gen Z theft prevention device. And it turns out it's true. It's pretty great.
It's a very Gen X story.
Yeah, well, I do love a good 5-speed, baby. And you dummies won't be able to steal my car.
On the back of the Freedom Cases, loss prevention is actually at all-time highs in 2023 across the Western world. Now, if you're not familiar with the corporate term loss prevention, it basically means theft. It means fucking store theft, shoplifting. They just call it loss prevention because they're assholes.
Insurance term.
So rather than get into the root cause and fixing the problem, companies like IndieMe get to come up with bullshit like freedom fucking cases and basically make our lives a living goddamn corporate hell whenever we go to buy liquor, because rather than paying their own fucking employees and everyone paying everyone else a living fucking wage, we decide we want to nickel and dime everyone and then make up freedom cabinets to prevent theft. When really, if we just paid everyone well, it wouldn't be a goddamn problem in the first place.
Yeah, and it is about that. Like self-checkouts, good God, they always take 3 times longer than actually manned checkouts. And if you have been into a Family Dollar or a dollar store, and I go in those sometimes just because they're near and I need something. Also, shit is cheap. But if they look like they're a third world country and there's just stuff scattered everywhere, it's because their business model is frequently only paying one person to run that entire store. So nobody monitoring, stocking, doing anything. There's one person that has to run the entire store. And that's why shit gets stolen. That's why things aren't stocked right. And how about what you do instead is, as a multi-billion-dollar, incredibly successful corporation, you treat people like people.
Well, I like treating people like inanimate objects.
I like treating objects like people.
Wine industry trends of 2024 to look out for. Mike.
Grapes!
It's funny you say that, because the number one thing is regenerative viticulture. And if that means nothing to you, it basically means stop using a bunch of fucking pesticides and shit to grow grapes.
Yeah, well, I don't know how I don't know anything about running a vineyard, but it has to be hard to run a vineyard without pesticides to some degree.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't give a fuck about it. Whatever. Make good wine. I don't care. The second thing...
I'd like you to wash them first.
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's pesticides in basically everything.
I prefer my wine DDT free, but yeah, given the amount of plastic that's in my body at this point...
You're drinking plastic. Everything's got plastic in it. Fucking cans are plastic. This is a myth out there, okay? The only way to really avoid plastic in alcohol is to drink out of glass. Cans are lined with plastic. You're drinking out of a plastic bag, but you have a aluminum container. The beer never touches aluminum. So if someone out there says like aluminum's better for the environment or whatever, or better for your health, it's not the case. Glass is actually better in that regards because there's no fucking plastic. There's plastic in every single can. So anyway, that's a sidetrack. The second thing in the wine industry trends of 2024 to watch out for.
So the first one is what? They're going to use
regenerative viticulture.
Using less pesticides.
It's basically being better to your land to help with grape yields in an increasingly climate hostile world.
Well, how do you do that? Because, it's not like if you're growing, like where I'm from, people would alternate crops like tobacco. They used to grow a lot of, and tobacco is really bad for the soil. It strips the hell out of everything. So you would grow tobacco for a few years, and then you would alternate and grow soybeans for a couple of years because soybeans are good for the soil. Yeah. But vineyards are vineyards. You're not, you plant them. What the fuck? What does that mean?
Well, first of all, part of it is that this is being brought up as an industry trend because it's a hypey marketing term that's going to be used a lot this year. But if you want to actually do regenerative viticulture, it's basically planting like nitrogen fixing plants in between your rows, bringing in like sheep to fucking do your plant pest control instead of using herbicides, and then they poop, and then the poop's good for the plants and shit. It's being taken care of like the microbiome in your soil and shit like that. It's that type of thing.
If you're planting crops between your rows, how the fuck are you walking between your rows?
Well, like instead of just grass or dirt, it's like alfalfa and shit. Like things that are like...
Are you still gonna walk on it?
Yeah, but you don't...
But it's just like better for the soil.
It's better for the soil.
And you're fucking the sheep when?
That's in between planting and harvest. When you have downtime. It's gonna take us 3 hours to get through 6 fucking things in this space. The second thing is labor.
I'm here to help.
Labor apparently is a problem because guess what? American fucking white people don't want to do.
Labor.
Go work in a goddamn field and pick fucking grapes. And you know what we're making it harder and harder to do is bring fucking people up from south of the border who want to pick fucking grapes. So
we try to avoid getting heavily political here, although we can't really help it a lot of the times. But it's one of the things that I don't really understand about immigration policy, right? Like, we all seem to be in agreement as Americans that we have a labor shortage, and it's not good for business, small business, big business. And how did we grow as a country historically? Immigration labor.
cheap labor.
Cheap labor.
From the beginning of America, it's always been cheap labor.
Ancestors, you bring in people, the Irish are starving, and you bring them in and you pay them dick, and they do the hard work, and they work their way up, and several generations later they're doing great, and they're taking advantage of the next generation of immigrants. So yeah, I don't really understand the whole we have a problem that has a solution, which is fix the immigration situation, and that's not let everybody in. It's have a sane, goddamn workable immigration system.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
No, it's really not.
The third thing in the wine
Elect
industry.
us.
The third
We're not
thing.
running for the. I'm sorry.
We're running for champions of your heart and your mind around beer alcohol.
Your love.
The third thing is consolidation. Much like everywhere in the alcohol world right now, things are tough. So medium-sized, small brands, even large brands, they're looking in order to increase their money that they're making, and consolidation is the way to have that. So we're going to see more consolidation. I don't think we need to touch on this more. This is just capitalist bullshit. But there's going to be more consolidation in the wine world expected. Co-ferments are a big thing.
In the wine world in particular?
Yeah, in the wine world in particular.
Wine is not something that I think of as being largely consolidated.
Exactly why there's going to be a lot more of it.
All right. Which is going to make it increasingly more difficult for small-scale wineries to survive.
Yes.
Great, that's good.
No longer can the boomer retiree that has multiple millions of dollars and wants to buy some land in fucking Napa Valley or outside of Napa and open their own shitty chic winery. No longer will they be able to compete with the large mega corporations.
Life just keeps getting harder and harder for rich millionaire boomers.
Oh, woe is
They're
them.
the ones that have it the toughest, I think.
I feel so bad for them. I feel so bad.
Yeah.
If only they just, I just hope
Not destroyed the world and pulled up the ladder.
I just hope they live forever.
Yeah, I hope they keep taking up the jobs and taking all the money and being assholes and destroying the environment. And
I don't want a representative government. I want the boomers.
No, right. I want boomers to keep,
Well, thank you.
I hope Dianne Feinstein, despite, the objections of her staff, or even being on the ballot.
Wasn't
I hope
she
she's
silent
reelected.
generation anyway? She was fucking welding shit in fucking 1942.
Been
and-
silent for a while because she can't. And she doesn't remember what the state house is. She's been,
The fourth thing is co-ferments. Co-ferments is becoming more popular. If you're not familiar with what a co-ferment is, it's pretty self-explanatory. Co meaning co, and ferment meaning ferment.
Like if there's two of us, there'd be, yes.
No,
Fermenting more than one thing.
it's fermenting more than one thing. The wine
what?
world is
In
starting to
wine?
explore grapes with other fruits.
Something other
Yes.
stuff.
So look for that. It's actually a lot of fun. If you've never tried anything like that, check out Urban Artifacts, sister company, Fruit Blood.
Fruit Blood.
They do a wonderful job. They're all co-ferments, but co-ferments are going to become more popular. It's actually pretty cool.
But they've been, okay.
I like
I like what Josh does with Fruit Blood because it is it's over the top and in like a good way.
Yeah.
But they've been doing that for a long time, right? Like the problem with Midwest wine, and there are now some good wines being made in the Midwest, in Kentucky and in Ohio.
Sure.
But they're the exception to the rule. Most of them are strawberry wine and peach wine. And so, that shit has been going on, right? Like dumb white trash has been drinking strawberry wine for...
The difference between strawberry wine and something branded as a co-ferment is that strawberry wine is probably just a little bit of strawberries, a lot of water, a lot of sugar, and then it's back sweetened with even more sugar and then flavor added.
Good.
You're more drinking a syrup or a shitty schnapps. That's more akin to like a high end.
It's more what Fruit Blood is doing is like a lot of that real fruit.
It's high end good stuff. It's like champagne except for fucking fruit wine, where like a lot of the strawberry wine you get in the Midwest is just fucking syrup. So there's two other things that I'm going to just hit really quick, and we don't need to go because we're running out of time. We got a shitload of more stuff. Non-Napa wine growth is expected, so if you're in the wine world, start looking outside of that. Apparently, the East Coast is going to have a really good year for wine-growing regions, specifically Virginia. So check that shit out.
Really?
Cans. Expect more cans. Wine bottles are starting to get pushed back. Canned wine is supposed to supposedly really take off this year. So we'll see if some high-end brands get into it. Now, the last thing I want to touch on, which bleeds into our next story, is AI sommeliers are starting to take off and wine people are freaking the fuck out. And what I mean by that is basically if you tell this AI sommelier, I like these flavors, or hey, I like this wine a lot, give me other recommendations, they're going to rattle off perfect recommendations that are void of bias like you would get with a real sommelier.
Oh, I could see that being, yes, absolutely, I could see that.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that idea because it removes the douche factor that is basically every sommelier.
Right. I mean, I know. I have some friends that are sommeliers.
Same.
But there is always, despite your knowledge base, there is always going to be a certain bias that probably is better represented with an extensive computer base of knowledge.
Yeah. The other thing on that back of AI is that Cooler Keg has debuted the first robot bartender in the U.S. at the Consumer Electronics Showcase. Robot bartenders, Mike. I know how much you like Pour Your Own. What do you think about robot Pour Your Own?
Are they hot?
They are non-fuckable robots.
Then I'm against them. I mean, if you could get like a real doll to serve my beer, sure.
Well, speaking
no, I'm against it in general, goddammit. I mean, I love bartenders. I love bartender culture. I love interacting with bartenders. I don't want a robot bartender. Unless it's hot.
Well, speaking of things I really enjoy, Mike, did you know I brew beer?
Really?
Did you
like
know-
on your own? Are you like a home brewer or something, Brett?
You know, I dabble.
Yeah.
And you know what malt I really enjoy? Malt Europe.
Malt Europe? I've heard of them. I hear they make the best malt there is.
You know what? I really think they do. Mm-hmm. The fucking malt is great. It's clean. It's free of impurities. It makes wonderfully delicious beer. I mean, I just love it. Sales reps are great. The company's great. Customer service is great. They pay for the silo that I have outside that is full of their grain. And I got a sweet deal. So you know what? Fucking Malt Europe. Love it.
I actually like these guys because they're nice to us, and
that's true.
Do sponsor us.
Cheers to Rick and everyone at Malt Europe. You guys are great. Every brewer that uses their stuff is also great. Humble Monk across the street, shit, they're using their stuff. Cheers to you guys. Beer in 2024 is looking like this. Apparently, volume growth is expected. Margins are set
beer
to
as a
improve.
whole.
As beer as a whole, and trading down is expected to stop. So apparently, what
craft beer? There's a life wrap for craft beer.
I don't think craft beer is going to help at all with any of this stuff. I think this is coming from large industry insiders and economic analysis that are basically saying the economy did well in 23. Things are finally the bleeding is stopped and consumers are going to stop being as worried about having to trade down to fucking Natty Light or Busch Peach and are going to go back to buying their Mick Ultra or their Modelo.
Like inflation, we're stabilizing.
Yes.
And the future could get better, but right now we're just not getting any worse.
Yes. And everyone's saying now's the time to buy AB InBev because everything has stopped. The bleeding has stopped. They're still down, but it's not getting worse. So buy while their stock's down and maybe you'll make some money.
I'm going to confess to you that I might do that.
I might actually.
I hate those fuckers, but I might do that.
Okay. Let's speed this up a little bit. Plantation Rum. Have you heard of Plantation Rum?
I have heard of Plantation Rum. It's pretty good rum, actually.
It's actually delicious goddamn rum. It's from a company that's based out of the British Isles. They make really solid rums. They buy rum. They don't make their own rum. They buy rum from different Caribbean producers. They blend it themselves, and then they release it under their own label. However, in 2020, when the George Floyd murder happened, they decided that it was time for them to change their name. It took them 4 fucking years. They have finally announced the new name of their company. moving away from plantation. They're calling it plant-array. It's called plant-array because cane sugar comes from plants and it needs the sun's rays in order to grow.
And
That's a fucking awful goddamn name.
And,
I hate it.
And coincidentally, they can probably put it in the same font and make it look similar.
That's exactly what they're doing. And they're in 120 different countries, so they needed to come up with a fucking a unique name because you can't get trademarks for things that already exist in 120 countries. So anyway,
well, sugar. Do you know anything about sugarcane production? And
a little bit.
Like it's brutal.
Oh yeah,
it is fucking brutal.
You got to set the fields afire before you harvest it.
Well, and just harvesting it has historically, and I mean, I think historically, maybe still now, maybe there are machine ways to do it, but until at least semi-recent history, you're out there with this wicked sharp machete, like all day, hitting like right at your foot with this fucking machete.
And the plants are sharp; they'll cut you.
Yeah,
you got to be careful.
Yeah, they're sharp and they're thick, and it's a wicked hard thing.
It's sugar's fucked. I mean, we've talked a lot about how sugar's ruining this country more than any other fucking drug. Like this is just more evidence.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things that is, it's been like brutal human conditions have been subsidized to make an over surplus of something. Like bananas. Like bananas should not be as cheap as bananas are.
It's one bananas, Mike. How much could it cost?
It's the production of them and the way that they were put together. The whole like banana republic is actually a thing. Like it's this whole structure of how governments were paid off to dehumanize people to produce cheap bananas. It's a fascinating story. That we
banana
have
history
definitely
is
not the time to go to.
Absolutely wild. It's
really
absolutely wild.
It's like this one really ambitious, brilliant, also psychopathic guy from Brooklyn back in the 1910s or something.
Yep. He used to buy rail cars worth of bananas that were getting ready to go and then just undercut every fucking supplier in order to put a stranglehold on the industry and then fucking bled everyone out and then started overthrowing governments in South America in order to depress prices. It's wild shit. The dude was a fucking bastard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Complete piece of shit, but also like brilliant and
brilliant in the worst American ways possible.
Yeah.
The last thing we'll hit before we get to the non-alc story of the week is these 40 things were identified as
all 40 of them
significantly associated with a higher risk of young onset dementia.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to go over all 40, but there's two that I thought were really interesting. The fourth thing on the list is the abstinence of alcohol. Complete abstinence will significantly increase your risk of young onset dementia. Man, I am suffering from onset dementia right now, apparently.
Right.
The fifth thing on the list is drinking too much. So if you don't drink, you're in trouble. If you drink too much, you're in trouble. You got to have the right amount of booze to not go crazy.
It makes sense because we don't talk about these stories in advance. It's one of the oddly ethical things that we do. I mean, it's oddly that it's our own ethics. But we did talk about this at lunch. And the first two, I also want you to go over. But because I think that they're consistent. I think that there is in those two things, they're not causal, they're correlative. Well, actually, probably drinking too much is causal. Drinking too little, I think, is probably correlative in the fact that you're not curious. Like you've never, like, I highly respect that I used to drink too much and I quit. Like, I respect the hell out of that. Like, I've just never been interested in drinking. I don't respect that. You're not fucking curious enough to be interesting to me, right? So what are the first two things on the list?
The first two things on the list, the first thing is lower formal education. And the second thing is lower socioeconomic status.
Yeah, being incurious and uninteresting. It's like you don't read, you don't engage your brain, you don't think, you don't challenge yourself.
Not even given a lot of both those things are kind of tied together. Lower formal education is tied to lower socioeconomic status. Yeah. So not having money to be giving the opportunity to be curious is actually bad for your health.
Right.
Which is fucking crazy.
Well, which is true. And I mean,
Just having less money is bad for your health. All sorts of studies always show that.
Having less opportunity.
Yes.
And having less opportunity means a lot of things. And it means, an absence of engagement. It means an absence of imagination in the world around you due to no fault of your own out of the womb. But it becomes,
The non-alc story of the week
Do you like the way I wrapped that up?
This. No. Just moved on. So you're probably watching this on or after Martin Luther King Day. Well, I bet you didn't know that on Martin Luther King Day is the start of Finger Lickin' Chicken Week in Corbin, Kentucky, where KFC was founded. Now, if that doesn't seem weird to you, I say go do a little bit more research and soul searching, but that's a weird fucking thing to start on Martin Luther King Day, if I have to say so.
It is a bit odd. What makes perfect sense is that Mitch McConnell will be there to kick off the ceremonies, and somebody else will lick his fingers for him because he's a fucking vegetable.
Oh my God. The meme event of the week, which is a new segment we're bringing out this week. Maybe we'll bring it back. If you like it, let us know. But the meme event of the week has been the New York City Jewish synagogue that was digging tunnels under the fucking city. And then they revolted and fought the cops when they tried to fill in their tunnel. That shit was wild, and there has been some high quality memes around it. If you're not familiar, check it out. It's funny shit.
What I gotta say about this? Just those people, Hamas, drug cartels, I think you can pretty well decide that if you need to dig underground tunnels, you're probably up to bad shit. You're probably just not good people.
Well, that's correlation, not causation, but I think that's a pretty good correlation.
Yes.
If we had to go back a week, I'd also say that the meme event of last week was Stephen Hawking showing up on the Epstein list documents, because that shit was classic, and there was some really good memes about his proclivities sexually, which involved a lot of short people. If you're not familiar, look it up.
I'm intrigued.
Now, question of the day is, what is your favorite booze slang term? Mike, do you have one?
Beverage.
God damn it. In the industry, what a lot of people say that really annoys me is they call it liquid. They just refer to beer as a general liquid as a whole, which is kind of annoying. But one of my favorites is a British term called necking pints, where you're going out and just slamming fucking beers. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. You've used that one a few times.
Yes.
Excuse me a bit.
And I've always liked Crispy Boys. It's a little bit overused at this point in time. 5 years ago, I had a real good kick about that with my buddies in college. But don't use it as much nowadays. It's a nice crispy boy right there.
Yeah. I just like beverage because really, there are beverages that are non-alcoholic, but why the fuck would you drink them?
That's true.
So
I want to get some tasty beverages.
Let's get some tasty beverages.
Let's get some tasty beverages in us.
We love you, people.